What do you think a friendship is?
Okay, so a friendship is like more than just like being acquaintances, you know? I think to really be a friend of somebody else's, like you both have to be vulnerable with each other and they have to like accept each other like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I think that different people have different definitions and qualifications for their own friendships. So I think it's kind of complicated.
Yeah, it is certainly complicated. But what would you say is like sort of like the defining feature of a friendship?
Um, I mean, there has to be some sort of closeness that isn't available outside of the friendship. So you need to be more close and more vulnerable and give more information about yourself. And
Yeah,
there's more
yeah,
trust in a friendship.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's like a little bit like implied by like being vulnerable. Like with being vulnerable, that's not something that's easy to find, you know? Like it's not easy to be vulnerable with the average person, but like once you're at that point, you pretty much trust the person, you pretty much are pretty close already and you like have been through some things with that friend. So that's sort of my defining feature, I guess.
Yeah. Um, do you think that you have a lot of friendships?
I would say probably like a little bit below average, but I think most people do not have as many friends as they think they do. I'd say around like three or four. It's hard to tell. So yeah, I'd say I have like around like three or four, like what I would consider friends, like not just like acquaintances, but like real friends. You know?
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, I don't know. I don't have a lot of friends.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, a lot of people are just not that deep,
Yeah, and
you know, like they're a lot of superficial. Yeah.
when different people are, I mean, I think that I'm an unusual personality, so I don't fit well with most people, and I
Yeah, and
understand. Yeah,
I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, go on.
and I understand why I don't get along with most people and why most people don't get along with me. I think it makes sense. We're just not compatible.
Are you like picky or are you like sort of like a standoffish? How would you say it?
I mean, I just don't, I'm not intrigued by most people. I'm not like going out of my way to try to be friends with people, you know?
So your interests just do not really align, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say that's sort of my situation too. Like I'm really into like just knowledge in general, but like most people are more like concerned about like I don't know pop culture stuff. So yeah, I kind of don't like blend in just like you. So it's yeah, it's hard to like find people that are like you if you are unusual, and I think that's just sort of the problem like many people have.
right. I mean, I don't know how to solve the problem of like with some personalities being lonely since they're not as common.
You mean like those like sort of on the weird side, like those are less common,
Yeah,
so there's not really yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I think you'll always like find outliers. So there's really sort of a question like how do you like fix that? I think the internet has like sort of like solved that problem to a certain extent. Like because on the internet you can basically like interact with anybody around the world just like we were doing. But then again, it's just on the internet, you know, you're not like it's not in real life. You're not with the person. So I don't know if the internet has like done much about it, you know?
Yeah. I think the internet has, for the most part, increased the number of connections, but decreased the level of connections.
Yes, yes. That's perfectly how I would describe it too. It's what would I say? Yeah, yeah, you got it right. Yeah.
So if there was no internet, somebody like me would probably have friends in real life more so than I do now. And I would probably interact with those friends more than I do now and have a deeper connection with them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really true. Um yeah, I think like everybody would be like more extroverted like if they really like found their own tribe, you know? Like if they found like compatible people, then like even the most like quiet people would sort of become outgoing because of that, I think.
Well, I think without the internet, it almost forces you to even kind of force yourself into a group that you wouldn't normally be if you didn't have to be.
Yeah, yeah, that's another good point. And I was actually just thinking about that because like yeah, like with the internet, you this is like instant gratification. It's like easier. You don't have to like present yourself or anything. So that's what many people would just settle for is internet connection. And turns out it's kind of had a negative effect on people. So I mean that's not the problem. I don't think it's the problem of the actual person going on the internet as much as it's just a whole like social problem that has to be dealt with, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just complicated. Just like I've noticed there's just such a big difference in my life since not being in like school, because school forced you to be around people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I was actually I was actually a high school senior when the COVID pandemic hit. So like once that pandemic hit, I sort of like self-isolated and then I lost all my connections really. So and I became an adult at the same time, so it was kind of like a
Right.
double whammy, you know?
It was going to happen anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was especially severe, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess that's being an adult, right?
Yeah. As soon as I graduated, 90% of my connections died.
I that's exact same thing for me, you know? It's just like I wasn't always the most outgoing kid, but I really have a problem because school like forced me to be around people anyways. But now that I'm sort of like given free reign over my decisions, I'm basically like and I don't know many people anymore.
Yeah. I wonder if it would be beneficial to like have some kind of organizations that are just for interactions.
Introverts.
Well, I was
Yeah. Or that yeah, or that too, yeah. um I think yeah, I think I would agree. Like I don't know. It's sort of like even if you do have those organizations, most people still would remain unmotivated, you know, and they wouldn't like join. They wouldn't be social. So maybe like it's better like if people are continued to force or forced to be around each other, you know. So like they're not being lazy and just like skipping out on social interaction. They're forced to do it. Like in the military, for instance, when you're joining the military, you're pretty much forced to like conform and obey all those rules, and you're forced to be around your fellow soldiers, right? So that gives you the social interaction, and that's maybe that might be sort of what many people need is that force component. But I'm not really sure actually.
yeah, I wonder if it would be like a I wonder how bad it would be to try to force people to like have mandatory, activities.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. It would be like more of I don't know. It's just yeah, I think that's the problem living in like the modern world because we're just so dependent on technology. We are like in my state, it's common to just commute like half an hour to get to your work. Like everything's just compartmentalized, and that's just not really that healthy for people. You know, like for the last like up until like the last 200 years or even 100 years, we've just lived close to each other. We've lived in villages. We were in a community, right? And now we don't have a community, and it's just it's really like doing a bad like it's really having mental health issues like in place because of it, you know?
Yeah. I think it might be like more acceptable to have like mandatory activities in the future where if there's like less jobs and stuff,
Yeah,
like after like AI take over, like AI is doing the majority of the jobs.
yeah, yeah. There would still have to be like forced participation. So
Yeah, otherwise
yeah,
I feel like everything would just start falling apart socially.
yeah, yeah. I think we're already like coming close to that point, you know?
So if unemployment was like at a certain percentage, then it would probably be definitely beneficial to have mandatory activities.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree.
But that's a hard thing to say that we should have mandatory activities because it kind of goes against your rights.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like what I meant by mandatory wasn't like necessarily like the government's forcing you, just like more like it's just more incorporated, you know, like I don't know how to say it. It's
How
easier. Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking mandatory as in like forced, like government mandated type stuff.
Oh, probably not that, but it would just be like more of a an easier way to get out. I'm not really sure though,
But like you said,
because
if you're not forcing it, a lot of people just aren't going to do it.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's certainly like a pretty complex issue actually. I mean, I personally, I'm just like I'm pretty lazy. I'm not gonna join like a club, like a local club or anything like that with my own willpower. So like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I
know.
mean. People like us need to have that mandated stuff.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But I don't know what to do about that because it's not fair for other people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's probably part of my problems with like socialism in general is it's not fair for everybody.
The problems with socialism.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, yeah. I kind of think it goes both ways for both capitalism and socialism. They're both like unfair in certain respects. They just got their ups and downs, you know. But yeah, I'm not really sure how to like solve the whole like not being social thing. I think it's something that runs much deeper. Like it's a deeper problem than most people think. But not really sure.
Because I mean, this is all involved in relationships as well, romantic relationships.
The loneliness aspect of it, like people having a hard time finding dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. It's actually been hard for me to find anybody, so that's also a problem.
I could go off on a while about how awful the dating market is and everything, and all the values are screwed up.
What would be like one of those values you think is screwed up? I'm not really like super knowledgeable on that.
I mean, I don't have it broken down into like values exactly, but I mean, I guess I would say people are valuing things that aren't the most beneficial to them or just beneficial in general, like worrying about, you know, somebody's height or their physical appearance too much, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely like really bad. Um, I don't know if humans have always been like that, like they just like been very picky, or it's just like a new problem. What
Well,
do you
it's
think?
it's definitely increased dramatically with the internet and stuff like Tinder, just being able to look at a picture of somebody and swipe them right or left.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I see the problem with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a huge problem, and the internet has absolutely destroyed dating.
yeah, and it destroys people's self-esteem too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's pretty like to just put your whole profile, your whole like profile and personality up, only for someone to swipe right because or swipe left. I don't know how you do it, but only for someone to like reject you because you're like 5'7", you know?
yeah. It's just the same thing where the humans aren't used to interacting with the the huge number that we can now of people. Like you could just get on Tinder and look at hundreds of different people a day, and you just treat people differently because
Yeah, that's
we're not really programmed to deal with that.
yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, like back in the old days, you just like you knew like how many you didn't know like much like compatible mates with you, you know? Like you just like took whoever, and now it's just like this. That's another thing the internet has sort of like destroyed, you know? So yeah, like when people are talking all about like mental health nowadays, I think a lot of it can be traced to the internet. It's just
Yeah,
I think I think the psychological like aspects pertaining to the internet have to be researched more. And like people have to find some way to like make everything less dependent on technology because I've seen some posts like on Reddit, for instance, of people wanting to just work virtually all the time, and I'm sort of seeing the problem with that because that's not like natural for you. You know, you need to like go out, you need to socialize, you need to do things in person. Like doing things virtually all the time, that sort of takes away the human aspect of it. You know,
yeah,
like even my friend, for instance, he's what? He's a third year college student like me, and he's taking all of his classes online, and it's only because he's got the option to do that that he does that. And it completely like fucks with his brain because it's just like you're taking all your classes virtually. You're not like really getting out much. It's like it's causing him to be really depressed, and he's just like he's still too lazy to just like actually go on campus. You know,
yeah. I did that for a couple semesters where I did everything online.
was it due to the pandemic or was this before?
Um, that was I just
Oh,
had one semester during the pandemic, I think. If you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing for more content.